Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy, coming to you with another exciting, rip-roaring, snorting, just tear him off. Anyway, I get so excited. Got a great show for you today. Today we're talking about, last week we talked about version 3.18 as if it were about to arrive, and lo and behold, it arrived 12 hours later. So we're going to take a second, well, more than a second, and go through and take a good hard look at version 3.18 and see what's going on in 3.18. It should be a lot of fun. And then we're going to, towards the end of the show, we're going to announce the winner, the first winner of the first week of the VidBlaster Give-a-way contest. We're giving away a version of VidBlaster every week in November. So if you haven't entered, it's not too late. Go to the website, thatvidblasterguide.com, and check out the rules and send me an entry. It's a lot of fun. I've really been impressed with the entry. Oh, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. The premise of this show is that one guy with one PC can do a pretty darn good broadcast. We used to say an awesome broadcast, and we're still working on that. And the improvements needed to go between pretty darn good and awesome are really quite a bit. 80% effectiveness is easy to achieve, but 100%, that last 20% is the hardest. And as you can see today, we're having just a tad bit of frame rate problems. Not sure where it is. We're actually streaming 3 different streams and recording, and I see smoke curling out from underneath my production PC. So maybe we're stressing it a bit too hard. The premise of the show is that you don't need a room full of PCs to pull off a really good broadcast. You can do it with one PC with the right hardware configuration, right cameras, right capture cards, all that stuff, and the right software. And I really do think for most any purpose, VidBlaster is the right software to do that. If you're doing sports, it's great for sports, especially the instant replay, especially the slow motion instant replay. If you're doing studio productions like this, the chroma key is awesome. The ability to build layer upon layer in order to get the effect that you want is really cool. If you're doing churches or events, it's great to be able to do that and to lay in overlays and to pull in PowerPoint presentations. Some of that we're going to talk about on today's show. So it should be a lot of fun. The new version 3.18 actually has got lots of goodies in it. And one of the goodies is that let me switch over. I've got a little PowerPoint prepared for you today. And because one of the changes is to the PowerPoint module. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and use it and demo it at the very same time. So the PowerPoint module, I'm jumping ahead of myself. The first real set of changes, and I think it's first on the list because it was probably the most difficult to pull off, is changes to the player. Now the player, of course, is that which plays the video. If you want to add a video into your production, you can do it with the player. And the new player, as opposed to the old player, the version 3 player, let's put it that way, as opposed to the version 2 player, has got a lot of really, really cool features in it. One of the cool features I like is that you can select the audio from within the player. And so no more getting confused about what audio source you're pulling from. You're choosing it right there in the player so that it's really easy to know when you've got an issue. The other fixes or improvements to it were that it has been tweaked so that it is more responsive. It works a little cleaner. The progress bar that goes across the bottom, when you want to queue up a video to a particular point, it works so much better than it did before. You have the option to show the title of the video, as well as show the total amount of of the length of the video, and then a sort of countdown / count up timer. So the timer begins when you tell the video to play, it starts telling you, okay, 1 second, 2 second, 3 second. But if you started out with a 45-second video, then the second timer starts counting down 45, 44, 43. You get the picture. Anyway, obviously, when it gets to 0, it stops. But you have that option. You don't have to guess, is the progress, how close is the progress bar getting? You know exactly how much time is left. And I really like that feature. That makes working with a video that much easier. There's a whole long list of changes, or not really changes, but additions that have been made to the API. And that's the application, oh golly, you know, I'm not a good person with these terms. I would say application programming interface. How about that? It's a programming that you can do from within VidBlaster to automate a lot of routines and to make things happen whenever you tell it to, like with the macro feature. Anyway, the recorder has had some new pins added to it for the API that allow you to do what's called a silent save. So you can set up a little routine either through a macro or write a script that gets executed outside of VidBlaster and tell VidBlaster basically to stop and save your video and name it so that you can do a very quick silent save if you have something that you do every week, kind of like a show like this. I could configure the recorder through the API where I could press F9 on my keyboard and it would automatically stop and save the file. Now it would give it the same name every time, and so I would have to make sure that I copied that file to a different location before I did that same show again. So we would want to be a little careful with that one. On the streamer module, it's also added, in the API, the ability to select the audio device and the audio input. And let's see with streamer and see what the difference between those two is. Audio device, that's going to tell us our source, like our mixer or whatever the audio options were. And the audio input, at least currently for me, the only choice I've got there is master volume. So I suspect that's probably a feature to be named later. Isn't that what they do when they trade players in American baseball? They always have a player to be named later. They don't know who it is, so he must not be a star. Let's see, I'm falling behind in my PowerPoint here. There's our API additions. The replay is a great module that has begged to be controlled by the API on a special use keyboard like the Chord Nano Control or something with a T-bar or something like that. But one of the options or one of the features or one of the controls, that's the word I was looking for, one of the controls or two of the controls that were left out of the API to control the replay were the ability to select the in points and the out points of the clip that we wanted to store and be able to replay later. Now, with the new version 3.18, in the API, you have the ability to select an in point and an out point. So that's going to be great, and I think it's really going to unlock the replay to much more, to better and easier use with a control surface of some kind. So this will be separate hardware, probably something connected with USB that would allow you to do that. So that's going to be really, really, really pretty cool. I haven't tested it yet, but I'm looking forward to testing it. The PowerPoint, and we can test this because I played with this later, and it's something, you know, how sometimes it's the simple things that you enjoy the most. Here in the PowerPoint module, you have the ability, if I right-click it, I can I show you guys this? Yeah, I bet I can. Hold on a second. Let me just pull this up where we can take a look here. And we'll change over to that shot. And we'll drop that graphic off. And here's the PowerPoint module. I can right-click it, and I can open it to select a PowerPoint file, but I've already got one. I can go Previous, I can go Next, and those two controls are available right here on the module itself, Previous and Next. Don't pay any attention to the little module poking out from underneath it. I also have a new command called First. So if I click First right here, it jumps back to the very first slide in our slideshow. And so that's great, especially if you're in the middle of a slideshow or in the middle and you suddenly need to go back to the beginning. You can do that. So I can click through my slides here to the point where I'm at PowerPoint. And then if I right click on that module, select First, pow, I'm right back at the beginning again. I like that. I like that. That's my kind of feature right there. Simple, direct, does what you need it to do. And for folks that use PowerPoint a lot, it's going to be great. I mean, what's worse than to get in the middle of a production and realize that your PowerPoint module is now queued up to slide number 33, but you need it to be queued up to slide number 1 because you're about to start. Now you've got a way to do that, wow, instantaneously. Not a big deal, but it's going to save somebody's beans for sure. That's coming up pretty close. After PowerPoint, and let's see, it was in the PowerPoint was Jan Akala that had suggested that, and so hat tip for Jan for making that happen. The Scoreboard module, which is a neat little module if you do sports. If you don't do sports, don't pay any attention to any of this. But if you do sports, the Scoreboard module allows you to put a scoreboard on the screen and keep track of the score, whether it's 1 at a time or 3 at a time or 6 at a time or whatever. You can do that with the ability to type in the names of the opposing teams, or to use an overlay graphic that it already contains the team names and logos. And it might include the period number or the quarter or the half or something like that. And then you can change that when each period or quarter or half changes. And that's the Scoreboard module. But RJ Murdoch from Fort Walton Beach, Florida, decided that he needed to output that to a different source and use that in something else, and requested that the output from the Scoreboard module be made available in the output module. And sure enough, Mike Versteeg said, okay, we can do that. And now the Scoreboard output is available as an input into various different modules. So that's going to be pretty cool, and I look forward to talking with RJ and finding out exactly how he's using that. I think he's in the chat room right now, so he might share that with us in chat. An interesting module that I had never, ever thought of before, because remember, I'm not a video guy. I'm a dad that loves his kids, and my kids were playing soccer, and so I was taking pictures, and then I was doing a website, and then I was doing video, and then I wanted to do live video over the internet. And then I discovered VidBlaster, and I just fell in love. And so that's how I got here. So I don't have the great body of knowledge that those of you that come from a video or TV background have, or even those of you that are coming from an audio or radio background don't have that base knowledge to work from. So this particular feature was something that I didn't know we were missing it. I just thought when you wanted to change from one camera shot to another camera shot, you would, boom, there you go, to a different camera shot. I guess that's a different camera shot. Let me go back to that one. We'll put that back in. But there's also a camera shot, and let's see if I can get it set up right, because I was playing with it before and I didn't set it back the other way. Let's go. Bear with me just a second. No, that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. So we're going to cut over. This is something called the Video Mix, and it's an effect. It's a new addition to the effect module. You know, the effect module the effect module is a treasure trove of really cool things. That's where chroma key lives. That's where picture-in-picture lives. That's where side-by-side video and quad video and triple video live. What else lives in the effect module? Golly, just tons of stuff. It's definitely source overlay. Yeah, that's another good one. Grayscale, I don't ever use that one. And then lots of splits. But chroma key is probably the one that I use the most. There is a new one called Mix. So if you go to the effect module, right-click it, there is a choice called Mix. And Mix does this, and I think this is so cool. Basically allows me to take this camera shot and convert it manually. Oh, you know what? It would help if I clicked on that module. Let's try that again. To take this camera shot and convert it to this camera shot with a slider. And I'll show you how I did that. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go to the screen capture right here. You can see this module here in the top left-hand corner is our effect module. You can see right there that it's a mix module, and it is a mix of camera 1, which is this shot, and effect 7, which is this shot. And so you can pull the slider here over on the right. Let me move that recorder module out of the way a little bit so it's not so confusing. You can pull the slider right here on the right from S1, which would be source 1, to S2, which would be source 2. So that would be camera 1 to effect 7. And you can pull it back. You can stay halfway. You can go all the way. I was playing with this earlier, and I realized that I could also change this to an overlay, so I could overlay myself. But what I also realized was it's not set up for overlay, so all of a sudden here I am ready to be moving around again, and it's frozen. So that's, I guess you might call that a bug, but it sure is an unintended use. So I'm going to move it back over here to effect 7. Oh, there we go, effect 7. And now it should work as intended without a problem. And I think this is a really cool feature. One of the things that I might suggest, I don't know, I'd love to get some feedback from folks to see whether you can automate that and to have it be a 3-second transition or a 5-second transition or a 10 millisecond transition or whatever the appropriate ways to go, so that as I move this slider, I can either move it quickly or I can move it more slowly and have it fade from one shot into another shot. I think that's really pretty cool. At this point, I can't imagine a use for it, but for those folks that are coming from a TV background, there would probably definitely be some ways that they can figure out how to use it. So let's keep on going. And hat tip to Martin K for suggesting that. Martin was the one that has been working with Mike Versteeg on that feature and kind of dialing in exactly what it should do and how it should do it. So thank you, Martin, for your help with that one. The macro, remember macros were added a couple of beta versions back into the API and allowed you to record and store commands that could be executed by pressing a series of keystrokes or a function key on the keyboard, something like that. And what's been added to the macro function through the API is the ability to go page up and page down. And that's something that I'm sure somebody out there, it was Alan Bunt, that's who it was, and Alan's watching today, he's in the chat room. Alan Bunt suggested, and Mike was able to put it into the API. And Alan is just going hog wild on macros. And in fact, we need to get him back on this show, because the show where we had him come in and talk about macros, I screwed up and pressed the wrong button. So we didn't record that show as we had hoped to. So Alan, I owe you one on that one. So that's the, let's see what else we got on our list here. Oh, yes, and the streamer has had a different resolution added to it that matches up more closely with the Flash Media Live encoder. So it's added that 256 kbps setting, I think, instead of 224 or whatever it was before that was sort of an oddball. It also has removed the Bamboozer from the one-touch streaming options in the streamer, because Bamboozer is no longer doing the free streaming for most folks. So VidBlaster has pulled it out. Bamboozer just sort of jerked that service out from underneath a bunch of folks with minimal or no notice. So VidBlaster has removed that from its offering because it wasn't really helping anymore. There's also, as in any beta release, a series of bugs that had been identified since the previous release and maybe even a release before that, and were fixed in that you can go to the website, to the forum, and look into the download section for 3.18 and see a list of what all those bugs were. And so if you were suffering from a particular bug, you may you may see that your bug has been fixed and that you can use that feature or whatever it was that you were doing that you weren't able to do before because of the bug. So that's I think that's my last slide there. Yeah, you know, it'd be nice to have a way to indicate that we were at the last slide in that, because if you're like a dummy like me, you don't always remember which slide you ended with. I guess I could put the end or a little red dot or something on the corner of that slide to let me know that. So I guess that'll work. I don't have to worry about that. Let's see. So that's version 3.18. Some really neat features, the improvement of the player, some additions to the API, the API pins in the replay and the streamer and the recorder, the go to first button in the PowerPoint, the scoreboard output, the effects, video effects, the mix, and the macros. Have made for I would say a moderately good release. I mean, there are no new features there. There are just some tweaks and some changes, but I think there's some pretty substantial ones. And I think probably the one that took the most computing, programming, coding horsepower, brain power, was probably the tweaks to the player. And I am delighted. And let me tell you about this. I'm delighted to see time being spent on the player, because as the player comes closer and closer to what it needs to be, that means that the developer, the Mike Versteeg, can begin to work more and more on the companion to the player, which used to be called the playlist, and in the future will be called the playout module. Now, the old playlist was basically, it was very, very efficient and worked great. It was just a little limited. Basically allowed you to either select one by one a series of files that would play one after another as a playlist, or to sync it to a folder so that you could just simply put all your files in a folder and then say, okay, do a playlist on that folder. There were some neat options like that, but it was pretty simple. It didn't have the ability to automate anything. You had to turn it on, you had to turn it off. It didn't do random, it only did sequence. A playout module, on the other hand, has, at least in theory, has some other options, some other features that I think are going to be really cool and powerful. Now, for some folks that are coming from sort of a radio background, and now that they've added video, they may want to be able to take, let's say if you do a video podcast, and you want to go ahead and put all your podcasts up, available to be watched 24/7, every show that you've ever done. And you really don't need them to happen in any particular order. In fact, it would probably be best if they just came randomly. Well, random is one of the hardest things for a computer to do. A computer will do exactly what you tell it to do. But if you say, hey, go out there and be creative and just sort of figure out your own way to put these in order, computers just, they shiver in their megabytes. So random is a good option for folks that want to just have their content out there on a whatever happens random basis. So hopefully this new playout module will have an option where you can randomly have videos or audio files, for that matter, streamed, and probably with options not to be repeated or not to be repeated more than once or more than twice within a 24-hour period or something like that. It's going to be really, really neat to see. You can keep up with the activity on that at the VidBlaster forum, forum.vidblaster.com. There are a couple threads that have to do with the playout module. I think they may actually be listed under the names of playlist, but don't be deceived. There's some great discussions there, and if you feel strongly about it, by all means go in and voice your opinions, because you may be the one that comes up with just the best feature. That would be perfect. The other things that a playout module would do would be to automate some shows like a TV station would do it, where you would have a show that would start 5 minutes after the top of the hour and run for 15 minutes, and then there would be a break in the show and have 3 minutes worth of commercials, and then the show would start back up again and run until 4 minutes before the bottom of the hour. And then something like that, you could basically, taking your content as well as other people's content on syndication, create a 24/7 virtual television where you could sell advertising, where you would have sponsors, and create essentially your own network. There are several folks that are already doing this, and they're struggling with how do we do this playout? How do we make this work in a way that is cool? There are of course there's software out there that does this, and most of that software is very expensive. I mean, expensive like with a comma in it. It costs more than $1,000 US. But there's, I think, something called Broadcast Play I found out about last week, that on Studio Tech Live, that they did a review of that. That looks pretty interesting, and I'm sure there's some features in there that'll probably end up in the VidBlaster playlist, or excuse me, the playout module. And that would be, neat things that I thought. So for example, if this show right here, right now, were part of a playlist in the playout module, every 12 minutes or maybe 12 minutes from the end of the hour or something like that, a little flare would come on up here and say, coming up in 12 minutes, or stay tuned in 12 minutes for, that VidBlaster Guy feature number 47 or whatever. That would really be cool and would really give a great sophistication to the playout module to make it really great. And just like what Instant Replay has done for VidBlaster in the sports world, the playout module, I think, would really put VidBlaster front and center in the TV world. Not just for folks like me that would like to develop their own sort of small local TV station, but for folks that actually do run more professional stations and would like to be able to run it all off on the internet off of a PC. So I think that has all sorts of promise, and I'm looking forward to the continued discussions about that as we move forward to seeing a product in a beta. And that's one of the things that I love about the way VidBlaster operates, is that for the most part, there have been a couple exceptions in the past, but for the most part, the betas, the works in progress, if you will, the betas are available for anybody to take a look at. If you're bold enough to download it and try it, you can have a go at it. And you may discover a bug that nobody else discovers. You may have an idea for how to make it better that nobody else thinks about. And that's one of the beauties of VidBlaster, is that it's distributed to such a wide community, even when it's acknowledged that it's not perfect. It's a beta. Beta means we're not ready yet. But in this case, we're not ready, but we want people to see it, test it, try it, taste it. You know, it's kind of like a new recipe. You know, remember when your mom would come in and say, I'm trying something new tonight. Here, have a taste. There was all, you know, I'm the oldest of three boys, and there was my middle brother, and he was the one that would always try it, you know, and we'd let him try it because sometimes it wasn't very good, and we'd let him try it, and if he goes, we knew that we didn't want to try it. Of course, one time he crossed us up, and it really was very good, and he went, so that we wouldn't eat it, and he could have the rest of it. But that's not how VidBlaster works. Sorry, I got way off topic on that. The idea is that everybody can have an opportunity to see what's going on, peek behind the curtain, as it were, and see what's going on with VidBlaster and try it and test it out and offer their input. So I like that. I've always liked that since the very beginning, and I continue to like that, and I hope that we'll continue to do that. And I understand that sometimes there are features or particular parts of the process that are highly technical that might be revealed to only a small portion of folks, private beta testers, if you will, that need to have very specific questions asked and answered in order to make that workflow work. And you can't just have every crazy suggestion pop into that. I understand and respect that. Anyway, that's one of the things that I see coming down the pike, and am greatly looking forward to it as a VidBlaster reseller. I have a lot of folks that want playlist and also want to upgrade to version 3 and are just sitting tight waiting on that old playlist to drop. So the play-up module to come out. So we're looking forward to having that join the ranks of the VidBlaster stars. Let's move on to a different subject, and let's talk a little bit about our contest. And I'm distracted by by some of the comments in the chat room. Oh my goodness, where do I find these people? No, I'm sorry, I'm just teasing. The contest, here's the deal with the contest. This was the basic premise behind the contest. I'm giving away a VidBlaster Home Edition license, retail value US dollars, $195. Or if you already own VidBlaster and you want to upgrade to a higher edition, move from the Home to the Pro or something like that, I'll give you the same thing in credit. If you own version 2 or version 1 and you want to update to version 3, I'll give you the credit for that. Same value, $195. So anybody can enter, unless I guess you already own the broadcast edition in the version 3, then my little $195 gift might not mean too much. But for the rest of us, you know, it can get us part of the way where we want to go. So the contest is this. Create a short video, about 5 minutes in length, that is a beta or an alpha a beta or an alpha for a show that you would like to start. Could be a show that you're already doing. That would be okay too. But it's even more fun if it's creative. And I'm kind of helping you jumpstart something that you've always wanted to do, but here's your chance to give it a try. Here's the qualifications. Obviously, you have to use VidBlaster. That's number one. But you have to use VidBlaster in a way that it is the home edition. Now, when you download VidBlaster for a trial, you're actually downloading the Studio Edition. There are 4 different levels in VidBlaster: Home, Pro, Studio, and Broadcast. As you go up the ladder, they have more and more features and more flexibility. More powerful, too, for that matter. The Home Edition is pretty basic, but for somebody that just wants to do a TV show out of their bedroom, and it doesn't have to be real fancy. Maybe a little chroma key, maybe an overlay, maybe they want to record it and they're using one camera. It would be perfect. And the Home Edition is limited to 7 modules. Now, there's some modules that are in the Studio Edition, the trial edition, but they're not in the home edition. So you need to check your cross-reference chart and make sure if you're going to buy the home version that you're not buying it based on the trial edition, which, for example, here's a good example. The input module, is that no, excuse me, the output module, wrong module. The output module that sends the video out to like Skype or Google Hangouts or what are some of those other ones where you can go on and have a video conference with folks. The output module has a part of it called the VVD, the virtual video device. And so that appears to this other program like Skype as if it were a webcam. Well, that's pretty cool. So you can take a full production of VidBlaster, including lower thirds, the backdrop and chroma key, and output that and have that be your camera for Skype or in GoToMeeting or whatever it is you're using. That output module is not available in the home edition. You have to have one of the higher editions in order to get the output module. There is something similar in the home edition, and that's a virtual video device, but that's part of the streamer. So you can go to streamer and click on one of the settings and have a virtual video device. That virtual video device is separate. They both have the same name, but they're really two different types of virtual video devices. The one from the streamer doesn't work in Skype. I don't think it works in GoToMeeting. It does work in Flash Media Live Encoder. If you want to run Flash Media Live Encoder separately, you can use the streamer module to stream the virtual video device to Flash Media Live Encoder. If you want to tweak the FMLE settings, or if you want to stream at more than 1,000 BPS, you can do that with Flash Media Live Encoder run separately. But there's some limitations to the old, what I'll call the old VVD in the streamer, is that it doesn't work with some of the newer versions of software like Skype. So as you're going through and doing some testing, make sure if you're thinking about buying the home version that you do that. Now, if you slip up and use an output module in the contest instead of using the streamer module, that's okay. I just want you to be limited to 7 modules and learn how the modules work and learn how to make them work together. And the entries that we've gotten to the contest this week, and by the way, it's still not too late to enter for next week, obviously, too late for this week, but we're giving away one every week in November. The entries today I thought were really outstanding. I mean, if the rest of the ones that are going to come in the month are this good, it's going to be really fun. And what I saw was people using the software the way it was intended to be used to build modules and put them together to achieve the desired results. And some of the folks, including our winner today, were using modules in ways that, maybe they did it by accident this time, but they're doing some things that took me 6 months to figure out. And I'm like, wow, look at that. Oh, man, it took me forever to figure out that one. And they're doing it in their first show. So that's really pretty cool. That's really pretty cool. And that's the benefit to this kind of competition, is that you can take some time. You can learn how the software works. You've got your goals over here, and you've got your tools over here. And how do you make your tools work together to help you achieve your goals? That's the fun part. And I think our winner has done a pretty darn good job at that. I'm not going to tell you who he is quite yet. But what I'd like to do, well, maybe I will. Let me give a little introduction. The winner today did a video that I got within the last 2 weeks. And the videos basically are uploaded to YouTube, but there's a setting in YouTube where you can mark them as unlisted. That is, you can send somebody the URL and they can watch it, but if somebody goes to your channel to see, they won't see it listed on the channel because it's not, well, it's unlisted. I guess that's why they call it unlisted. So I wanted folks to send me the links unlisted, and then what I did today was I went ahead and just pre-recorded it through VidBlaster, and then I can play it here. So let me cue that up. I had to restart earlier, and let's see if it saved it in my recents. It did not. So bear with me just for a second while I cue that up and see if I can find it. Boy, that assumes I have to remember what I called it. There it is. There it is. All right. The winner of our contest today is, drum roll. Oh, I should have had a drum roll effect. Oh, well. Oh, I see. Maybe folks in the chat room can do a drum roll for me. There they are. They're typing away at the keyboard. It's like, how do you do da 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 da? The winner today is Maine Bob O'Connor. Congratulations, Bob. Bob did a really cool video. It was one of those. As soon as I saw it, yeah, there's a drum roll in the chat room. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was the winner. It was just really striking, and it's not perfect. You know, if you're out there thinking, you know, I'd like to enter, but I'm embarrassed because I can't do a perfect one. This is not perfect. In fact, none of the ones that I got were perfect. All of them had glitches. You watch this show, you'll see glitches. You know, we're human. We're not, you know, $1 million professionals with $1 million equipment and lots of techs behind us, lots of staff. Most of us are doing it just onesies and twosies. So there are going to be glitches, but don't let that throw you off. I can see Bob; he's hollering in the chat room right now. Let's cue up Bob's video and see if I can get that to play here. I should have tested something like this before the show. So if the guys in chat would help me make sure that we've got audio on this one when we play it up. So with no further ado, this is Mr. Maine Bob O'Connor.
Hi folks, this is Maine Bob O'Connor, also known as Maine Bob, who is bringing you Maine Bob Shares, a brand new program that I've put together here. I'm very excited about it, and the whole idea behind the program is that we want not more, but better. Better is better. So yes, welcome to my first presentation here, my first video. This show is, of course, number one. Why do I say it's number one? Yes, it's number one because it's my first of many. So it's the only time I guess it'll be number one. Or maybe it'll be number one in the hearts and minds of my followers. We'll see. So why am I doing this? Because it's live. I don't have to think, okay, I'm going to prepare something really detailed. Even though, yes, some trouble has gone into making these PowerPoint slides, and hopefully I'm being recorded. Yes, that does seem to be working. And it's just do it. We don't have any hesitation. So if I have a regular program, I would need to put stuff together and be here in front of the camera. Also learn to be comfortable in front of the camera, talking to you folks out there in TV land, as it were, or internet, in the internets, the internet tubes. So there's a lot to share with the world, and I'd love to be able to do that, and this is a wonderful medium for doing it. So the other reason I'm doing that is it's a contest. And yes, there'll be some value here, so hopefully you'll stick with me. I've learned a lot, and the software that I'm using to be able to do a live presentation relatively inexpensively is VidBlaster. It's a software that has been promoted by this VidBlaster guy. I've been watching him, learning a lot about the details and nuances to do a really awesome production. We'll see if this one turns out to be that way. That VidBlaster guy is Tom Sinclair, and he has his own program that he does weekly on most Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, and there's the URL for you so that you can see what he's up to. Again, this is a contest, and the idea is that you take the simplest version, the least expensive version, because VidBlaster goes from the home edition all the way up to full broadcast version, and that's what we're looking to enter this contest. And the idea is I can upgrade to the next level. We can do a lot with this home edition level, which is what I'm working with right now. I've prepared my PowerPoints, and there's modules here, and you'll get to see how I'm doing this. I should explain that this is done with a Windows PC, with the VidBlaster Home Edition, PowerPoint, and a green screen. I can show you my green screen. There it is. Oh, the secret's out. There's the secret of all the weather people in the world. Let's go back to our illusion and continue here. This is the studio. This is where you're seeing me in a shot of my desk with the two computers and the little get my pointing right, my pointer right there. There's the camera that we're using right now, the two screens, and the audio, the microphone beside me, to get good quality audio. So the actual software program itself, thought I could use my pointer, but let me do this. This was the modules. You can use 7 modules. I'm using all 7 in the home edition. When you go up to the pro edition, you get up to 15, I believe. Anyway, this is the green screen module, which is the only camera shot that we have. And then the PowerPoints. I actually have 2 PowerPoints. I probably didn't need to use that, so I could have a spare module left over for other stuff. This is the final output. This is where that output's being recorded as a file here. You can use a streamer here too, so that you can stream it, and I've used this with Google Hangouts, and you can also use it with Skype. Future programs, we'll talk about those. And this is the combined shot, taking my green screen. I can move my hand around. How do I move my hand to point when it's not a mirror? This is the combined effects shot, and over here is the lower thirds, which I forgot to play that. This is the lower thirds that say, who is this guy anyway? And we can fade that in and out by just clicking the mouse there. That gives you a rough idea of how this works, simple with PowerPoint. And let's go forward to our wonderful background here. And in future shows, I plan to have rants and raves, recommends, how-tos with how to build stuff, how to fix stuff, repair stuff, and make a better world through humor, love, and understanding. It's yay. Here's that. Oh, wrong way. I know, I'm a little bit whatever. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and you'll subscribe to my channel. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. You come back and you sign up for my channel, please. I'd love it if you did. And we will go out with our fine quality music here. Bye for now.
Was that not great or what? Good job, Bob. Good job, Bob. That was really well done. I really appreciate the time that you put into that and the creativity that you showed. I mean, I was making some notes during the presentation. You know, Bob used the PowerPoint module, and I think he said that he actually had more than one, because remember, he had PowerPoints up and then one down. He was using chroma key, and I'll tell you, chroma key is tough. Chroma key is tough. So obviously, he had not only was he using chroma key, but he had done work with lighting in order to get the lighting right. and he used a background that was a little tricky because it was kind of a dark background. And I thought his lighting looked pretty good, as if maybe he was standing on the front porch of a lake house with the lake in the background. And obviously there was light in the house to illuminate him so that we could see him. But did a really, really, really good job. So Bob, we're going to get together, and I'm going to send you a product key for the home edition. And if you want to immediately upgrade that to the Pro or another edition, we can work that out too. I think that'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Thanks to all the folks in the chat room today for they're right now they're cheering on Bob, and he really did deserve it. Now, for those of you that are thinking, excuse me, I'd like to win VidBlaster too. It's not too late. Now you see what you're up against. Bob was using lots of different modules. He was limited to 7. He showed you the 7 he was using. Now he wasn't streaming, so that's kind of a savings of a module right there. He was just recording. But be creative. I'm looking for creativity. I'm looking for I'm looking for thought and effort, really. I'm looking for folks that have said, using the tools that VidBlaster has, what can I do? Can I take this module and put them together with this module and create this other effect? I think at one point Bob had chroma key going, he had 2 PowerPoints going, and he had his camera going. So that was quite a bit happening all at one point. And Bob, you're to be commended. That was very nicely done. Very nicely done. So now we see where the bar is, folks. Now, if you already submitted one, we're going to keep that one. And after you've seen Bob and you said, oh, well, maybe I need to go back to the drawing board a little bit and pump mine up a little. You've got the basis you've got what you started with, and you can once you've done it a time or two, the second or third time is so much easier. Now, I don't know. I'd love to hear from Bob if he can tell us in the chat room if that was his first take, or if he had gone multiple takes on that. But that was obviously all one single take from start to finish, about 6.5 minutes, and I thought that was really good. I'd also love to know whether he had some cue cards or whether he was using an Obama prompter. a teleprompter. Or if he just did it all from memory. So we'll see if he types something in here for us to see. I'll keep my eye on that. Next week's show, of course, will be on Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock United Kingdom, and heaven forbid if I know what time in Australia, because we just went on time change, and I think we're back to 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday in Melbourne. So we'll try to get somebody to give us some clarity on that one, or you can watch us on YouTube. Okay, Bob says it was a full take, and it was his second take. And Andrew from Melbourne says it comes on at 7 a.m. now. So at one point, I think we were on at 5 a.m. Then they changed to summertime, and then we changed off of daylight savings time. So whatever. The deadline for the next submission really needs to be the day before to give me a chance to look at it. But if it shows up Wednesday morning, I probably won't ignore it. But I'd rather have a chance to look at it. So if you can have it to me by next Tuesday, that would be great. And remember, creativity. And show me as much as you can about how you can use VidBlaster. And again, you've got a pretty limited palette. You've got 7 modules to work with, so you kind of have to mix those colors carefully and see what you can get out with. Yeah, it's 9 p.m. right now in Germany. Or no, I guess the show is at 9 o'clock in Germany. This is chat room chatter over here. Let's see. Oh, I know. So congratulations to Bob and you guys. If you've thought about entering, go ahead and do it. What the heck? as you can tell, it's if you don't win, you're anonymous. So if you're worried, ooh, mine might not be good enough and I'll be embarrassed, I'm the only one who'll see it. And I remember what my first shows start like, and all the shows that I got, all the submissions that I got were way better than my first show. So don't worry about being embarrassed. And if you want some comments, and in fact, if you're doing one and you're saying, I don't know that I want to submit it, if you want to send it to me again as an unlisted YouTube link, and say, Tom, just tell me what you think. Help me evaluate. Is there a better way for me to do this? I'm happy to help you cheat. Why not? The whole idea is that we get to learn the software and figure out how to make it do what we want it to do. And that's what I want to do too. Coming up in December or January, not sure which at this point, kind of just depends, I will be spinning off a new show. Yeah, it's going to be kind of fun. You know how when you get a movie, you have a sequel, and sometimes when you have a good TV show, you'll spin off one of the characters as spin off one of the minor characters on a show of their own. Well, we're going to do that. We're going to spin off from this show and have it will have very similar theme, but it'll be internet broadcasting, but it'll be a little bit more generic and a little bit more on the technical side of it, the stuff that is not specific to VidBlaster. We'll continue with that VidBlaster guy, and that will really, kind of hone down the focus to be VidBlaster. So in the future on that VidBlaster guy, we're probably not going to be talking about capture cards and hard drives and cameras and those kinds of things. We'll do that in the new show. We're still looking for a name, and as a different way of doing it, one of the suggestions that I had that I really like was what I'm going to call a cadre of co-hosts. And so if you've got an area of internet broadcasting that you're really passionate about, you don't have to be a professional in that area, but you're really passionate about it and you know a lot about it, shoot me an email and tell me that you'd like me to consider you as one of the cadre of co-hosts. I've already chatted with several folks who have said, yeah, great idea, let's do it. And so it should be a lot of fun, and will be a different kind of show. We're not sure exactly when and where, but we will work those details out as time goes on. But I have a feeling it will be, somebody's suggesting in the chat room, son of that VidBlasterGuide.com. But I don't think it's going to be that for sure. One of the questions in the chat room is the contest, is it open to the trial edition users with 7 modules or just 7 modules regardless of edition? And I'm going to say, let's be loose with this and say any 7 modules you want. If you've got the studio version, if you've got the pro version, if you've got the broadcast version, and you want to enter the contest, use whatever 7 modules you want. Yes, that does give you a leg up in terms of modules, but hey, it's creativity that we're looking for, so that doesn't really give you any more creativity. In fact, when you add more colors to the palette, sometimes it can make things more difficult. So any 7 modules will do. Obviously, one of them has to be a camera. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be a camera, but it would be better if you used a camera, as opposed to just recording something outside and bringing in and playing it through VidBlaster. But one of them should be the recorder module, because you've got to record it. Hopefully you would be using, an overlay or a chroma key or side-by-side or some sort of effects or some combination of different kinds of modules. And the other part is that I'm hoping that something like this, as with Bob, will be a good way for you to jumpstart a show that you want to do. So we'll have more information on Bob's show as it becomes available, and you guys can tune into that one too. Looks like it's going to be a hoot. Well, I think we're about out of time for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching live, stay after for the after show, and we'll all get around with our hats and our what do you call those little things that roll out when you blow them, and balloons and celebrate with Bob on his winning today. So that's it for today. That VidBlaster guy, I'm Tom Sinclair. It was great to have you with us. Hope you'll show up again next time. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're not, regardless of how you're watching us, and you want to know what's coming on with us, go ahead and follow us on Twitter at VidBlaster Guy. And I think in YouTube it's like that VidBlaster Guy, some sort of variation of that. Anyway, thanks. Have a great time.